Good morning. This is your reminder that never did men look at the fact that women weren't in college or in the workforce and say, oh my gosh, this is a problem of huge proportions that everyone needs to hear about. We have to fix this because women are behind. All the doctors and lawyers and lawmakers are men and this is an issue. No, in fact, they looked at that and said, it's perfect. Wouldn't change a thing. And now that men are having issues academically and are falling behind, women, everyone needs to care about it. It's a problem that everyone needs to address and figure out a solution for. To what? To put men back on top? To make sure men are outperforming women? But you see, the difference is that women were systemically prevented from participating. There's nothing stopping men from participating. There's nothing stopping them from getting good grades, from studying hard, from getting that job if they're the best candidate. Yeah, so sounds like personal problems.
Hello, hi, and welcome. It's that friendly auntie, and I am back with another video. I almost said I'm black, which I am, by the way. Now, in this video, we are having a cool one, a good one that we love. Have you recently been in a discussion with a man and they say, or even a woman, and they say, and that's why you're single, as a single woman? Now, do we not know that in this day and age, that's one of the biggest compliments that you can receive as a woman? Because A, it means you didn't settle. A, B, it means you've put yourself first. C, it means that you are losing nothing. Because in this day and age, being partnered to a man is one of the least rewarding experiences if we are being explicitly truthful. I mean, don't get me wrong. I know some relationships out there are beautiful, they are rewarding, they are gorgeous, they are lovely, they are all the things. But we can also admit that as women, we have come to realize, and by the way, this is thanks to generations and generations of work done by other women, saying, listen, it's all cute and lovely and good, but being single is actually the better option, right? So I think we can all agree as women that being told, and that's why you're single, is one of the biggest compliments that you can hear. It means you're doing something right. It means you're on the right track. It means I don't need to be stressed, right? I'm loving it. So in this video, that's what we're talking about. We're looking at videos of women that are talking about their experiences as single women and what has led to their decision, right? And some of them are even coming out, speaking to younger women or other women that are in relationships about they're delaying themselves. If it's not working, it's not working. And the success that you get from being alone is much more rewarding compared to the sacrifices and compromises that you have to endure when you are partnered with a man, especially. Now, I can confirm in my personal experiences, in my family, guys, I come from a family with tons and tons of aunts. And there are two aunts specifically, both unmarried, both uneducated. But if I tell you the lives that they have built for themselves are amazing. They, for me, are a true reflection of the success that one can build outside of marriage. In fact, compared to the other aunts in the family that are not are married and are partnered, it is mind-boggling. Actually, it is not surprising to see the level of success they have enjoyed, even compared to my own mother. And that's what I am using as well when I consider whether I want to be married or not, right? I look at the women in my direct environment. I look at the women in my community and the world in general, right? And see that this is not really benefiting women. Why do we keep doing it? I can tell, like I said, in my mother's experience, my mother was a nurse. She was an educated woman married to an educated man who studied literature and linguistics. And I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt that my father hindered my mother's success. Without a shadow of a doubt that he hindered my mother's success, which is why her unmarried sisters, even though uneducated, even though they didn't have half of the opportunities that she had, were far more successful in their lives. If there was any more evidence that I personally needed, it's exactly that. We are not hating on your marriages. We are not hating on your relationships. If it's working for you, do you. But I think the point of this conversation in this day and age is showing women that there are other options. Marriage and children are not the only things available out there. They really are not, right? There are other options. Anyway, without going any further, let's get into the videos, and I will keep popping in here and there to give my commentary.
Watch this video and then I'll be back.
By 2030, 45% of working women ages 25 to 45 will be non-married, no kids, single.
So what's wrong with that?
So you might say, well, what's wrong with that? If you think that you're going to genuinely be fulfilled in life because you made money, best of luck to you.
Okay, so he had one perspective. I'm going to give you another. And this one's coming from an actual woman who was single and child-free and fulfilled. When I was a little child in the 70s, my grandmother and her two sisters, all very well-educated women, especially for that time period, looked at me and said, never depend on a man. And I was like, I'm 5. But what they were trying to instill in me was that my independence was important. They knew that a good education, especially at that time, led to financial freedom. And when you have financial freedom, you make better decisions for your life. I was married for 22 years. We never shared a bank account and we never had joint credit cards. When I got my amicable divorce, my lawyer said it was one of the easiest that he had ever done. And I wasn't planning on getting divorced, but having financial independence definitely made it easier. And it helped me with the decision that it was time to leave. I never felt trapped. I knew that I had my own money, and I knew that I had 4 college degrees. Whoever comes into my life at this point is here because I want them here, not because I need them here. I have a fantastic and supportive boyfriend, and he's in my life because I want him in my life. He doesn't pay any of my bills. We don't live together, and I have no intentions of getting married. I have a fantastic and supportive family. I have a huge group of female friends. I have a job that I love. I have hobbies I adore. I feel valued, connected, and fulfilled. I don't have a husband, and I don't have children. If you want a husband and you want children, great, please do it. That will be fulfilling for you. I just don't want you to listen to some guy with a podcast saying that you will be a miserable old crone if you don't do these things. Only you know what's right for you, and that's what you have to follow. There are some of us here in our 50s and older who led the way for this, and we're telling you, it's a damn good life. This is a picture I have of my grandmother and her 2 sisters when I was 17.
Always makes me laugh when men in my comment section say, well, if you don't settle down, you're gonna be old and childless and you're gonna be an old cat lady. Listen, brother, I just got back from an 18-kilometer run. I am 1 month out from my ultra marathon. Freshly shaven legs, moisturized. I am now wearing a dress. I'm going to take myself out for dinner and I'm gonna get a juicy steak. And the house is clean. Everything is clean. And when I get back from my dinner, I am going to do a full skincare routine. And then I'm gonna crawl into bed with my freshly shaven legs, and it's gonna feel so nice against my sheets. I'm gonna light a candle, I'm gonna hang out with my pet rabbit, and then I'm gonna go to bed early. And I'm gonna get 8 to 10 hours of sleep, and it's going to be the best. My skin is the clearest it's ever been. My cortisol levels are balanced. I have a jawline. Can't say I had that when I was in a relationship constantly stressed out. And life is good. Life is really good. Fresh manicure. I love it here. I love it here. So I just might take the cats.
One of the things that I hear a lot from people in regards to women who choose to be single is that somehow we are bitter or traumatized and we've been hurt before, and that's why we decided to be single. You know what? That may be the case for some women. Some women have decided that, you know what, I'm gonna take myself out the game because this is just too much for me. But in my experience, both personally and professionally, a lot of women are choosing to be single because of the fact that they are much healthier and happier with themselves. The thing that I hate most about, this whole idea that, choosing to be single is because of some sort of hurt or trauma, it makes me feel like people are still buying this idea that the default position for women is to be partnered, that's what we were supposed to do, and your life is not complete unless you have, fulfilled that. As we're seeing, more and more people are deciding to either prolong or forego marriage and children altogether and are doing fine. We're actually thriving. And people are now realizing, oh, so maybe this marriage and kids thing isn't the only way. For some people, that can feel really scary. That can feel really intimidating because that means they'd have to question their own value system, the things that they believe about what a good life is supposed to be. In my, experience, a lot of single women who choose to be single are doing so because they like themselves more as single people, they have a better quality of life as single people, and they really want to focus on building other relationships outside of the romantic context in order to have a more fulfilling life. And I have to say this, historically, romantic partnerships, marriages are really, really based around women's labor. And I know some people are going to get mad at me for saying that, but a lot of success in the cis hetero relationships that I've seen is based on how much a woman is willing to sacrifice in order to make the relationship work. Guess what? A lot of women ain't trying to do that. They understand that the costs really are not aligned with the benefits, and so they are choosing themselves. And I applaud those who are making that choice. It takes a lot of courage and humility to look at yourself and and be able to say, all these societal norms don't really work for me. I'm going to choose something different. For those who are threatened by that or who don't understand that, I really want to encourage you to sit with that discomfort and think about what that is. What is making you so uncomfortable about someone else's life choice that's working for them? Is that somehow making you question yours?
Hey, what's up, y'all? I don't know who really need to hear this, but I'm gonna be honest with you. If you really trying to be successful in your business, or you got a new endeavor that you're trying to pursue, the best thing you can do is stay single. I promise you, as a living witness, 100% of the women that I know personally. Now, if I don't know you, if I don't have your number in my phone, I can't pull up on you, we don't talk, I'm not talking to you. But 100% of the married women that I know are miserable, okay? For whatever reason they choose to stay or whatever, I know for a fact the women that I know, miserable. I just had a married woman in my car, and all they doing is she arguing with her husband. Get off the phone with him, she complaining about him. Statistics, because it's always a man that get on here, that's why you single. When a man tell you that's why you single, take it as a compliment, okay? Straight up. Because statistics, I don't really like to quote statistics because all of that stuff don't matter to me. I know my reality. But statistics show that the happiest people are married men and single women. the majority of the burden of your marriage is going to fall on the wife. I don't want to hear shit, none of that about you men. First of all, if you got a good woman, a lot of y'all do not appreciate her. You know, but I'm telling you from what I've seen and from my own experience as just taking the time out to be single after my relationship, I would not have been as successful as I am in my business, my new business ventures that I have, if I was in a relationship. Men are too fucking needy, then they're competitive, and then they jealous. It's always, you don't ever make time for me, you don't this, you don't that. It's always complaining about what you don't do. I ain't got to listen to none of that. I can walk around in the comforts of my own home, butt ass naked, and eat a bowl of cereal if that's what I want to do. I ain't got to worry about somebody coming in, asking me, man, what you cook? You cook something? You know, man, slapping me on my ass or whatever. You know, just whatever it is that women go through, what I've gone through, being in my relationships. Listen, being married is something that I don't look forward to. It's not a desire of mine. It's not a need for me. But for those of you that want to do it, make sure you marry the right person. Because marrying the wrong man will set you back mentally, financially, and spiritually. And then for the men in the back that's going to get on here and talk about, well, that's why you lonely, you this. Nothing that you can say to me on this here internet is going to hurt my feelings. Because 9 times out of 10, it's coming from a bum, broke ass man. A bunch of bums. Because the only men that reply and make comments under women posts are men who ain't got shit to do. The men who actually making money, who happy in their marriage and they keep their woman satisfied, they ain't on this app responding and replying and making comments. It's only the bum ass men that ain't got shit else to do. You clocking out because you done with work. You don't even want to pick up no extra hours because you want to do the bare minimum. It's only y'all that's on these apps under women, videos and making comments. One thing I don't do, I don't comment on other people's stuff. Because, we all got an opinion and we all live a certain type of reality of life. It's just that in my reality and what I've seen, there are more miserably married women than there are happy. Now, like I said, if you're a happily married woman, congratulations to you. But the majority of the women that I know personally that I married are unhappy. They're miserable. For whatever reason, a lot of them are dealing with very narcissistic men who will rather compete with their woman than collaborate. All they do is complain. Y'all the new women. I promise you, all that nagging and complaining and that needy shit, a lot of y'all don't even know. A lot of y'all wouldn't even function in life properly if you didn't have your woman to help you. That's why, and case in point, 2 married couples, been married for years, right? Say the wife died. So, no, just say the husband died and she becomes a widow. 9 times out of 10, that woman is going to remain single. She's not going to remarry because listen, she said her husband gone, but she also relieved and she ain't trying to do it again. Majority of the men who lose their wife, majority of the men who become widowers when their wife died, honey, trust and believe that rebound relationship, that rebound woman gonna be at the repast fixing her a plate of fried chicken and potato salad. Because men can't stand to be alone. Y'all don't get it. Y'all need women more than women need y'all. That's just what it is. Majority of the men that I know, they can't stay single. They got to always have somebody because they don't know how to function without a woman. Women, we just fine.
The happiest people are single women and married men. They're the 2 happiest groups of people always.
Single women
and married men
are the happiest.
I bet the happiest groups of people, like not married women. Married women like end up doing all the jobs and, married women aren't happier than single women. Single women are happier than married women. And married men are really happy because they get everything done.
I just saw a video on here of a girl saying that in her experience, in order to date men, she's had to sacrifice her self-expression, and so she doesn't date anymore. And I want to take that a step further because in my experience, in order to date men, I've had to sacrifice my self-respect. And I know I'm generalizing, but I've seen a lot of situations in which that's the case for a lot of women. And this is why I love the conversation about decentering men, not just because it is a nod to the women that came before us that fought so that our livelihoods did not depend on men, so we did not have to center them, but also just in terms of the dynamics of a partnership with a man in a heterosexual relationship requires that you abandon yourself in some way as a woman. But the irony is that men don't respect that. They don't respect that you're also abandoning yourself to be with them. And it's a really tricky situation to be in as a woman, especially if you're a woman who wants to be their own person, wants to have their own life, reconciling with the fact that you have to sacrifice a bit of that when a lot of times men don't have to. And unless you are with a man that is radically aware and actively aware, you're going to struggle in partnership with a man. I mean, even hearing about Michelle Obama hating Barack for 10 years because he could just do whatever he wants and pursue his own life, even the Obamas, there's no hope for us. And this is why I think I keep seeing conversation about how women are saying, well, men don't respect women, they only respect men, they only respect each other. I think that that's part of it is because to be in partnership with a man, to be in a man's world, you need to relinquish something about yourself as a woman. It's not that there's this inherent lack of respect that should be allotted to women. It's just the inherent dynamic. And unless you are very aware as a man, you don't see that this is what the dynamic requires, and it's kind of partially your fault that the woman is losing her self-respect to be with you. And so it ends up being like, oh, I respect my bros better. They stand on business. They're blah, blah, they do this, blah, blah. But it's like, you're not recognizing the role that you play in creating this dynamic. And so I think that's why I'm also seeing a lot of conversations about women saying, well, men only respect men. I don't think that's inherent. I think that's because of the dynamic. And I don't know what the right way is. I'm clearly not in a relationship myself, but I do think that the biggest step is a man being radically aware and radically mindful and understanding that a relationship is a partnership that requires equal compromise, and also recognizing the fact that if you're in partnership with a woman and you want to have a child, for example, there has to be other ways where you take on the slack and you take on other things so that that can be really possible and that can really happen. Because at the end of the day, men don't go into a relationship with women knowing that they're risking their lives to bring life for them. And until we can really have a genuine conversation about the fact that women have to go through childbirth and women have a different responsibility in the relationship, then we can probably talk about, okay, how does this dynamic fulfill both people, not just one over the other?
There are an increasingly large number of women who are just choosing not to get married and are
For the very last time, we are not having a mating crisis. What's happening is that women have access to information and education in ways that they didn't have in previous generations. We can now share stories and choose the bear. We can now own homes, open bank accounts. We know that. And we're not hypergamous as in we mate upwards. It was a necessity because we were blocked from owning things. You centralized through patriarchy the only access to independence and some form of survival and wealth into men, forcing women to have to choose. And as soon as we dismantled parts of the patriarchy to allow access to education, employment, financial stability independently, we exercised our choice. It is not a crisis, it's a liberation.
So I just want to pop in here to say this. What I've noticed, especially when we're having these discussions, right? It's not necessarily that people have a problem, who innately have a problem with single women. It's the fact that how dare you have the boldness to make a decision that is outside our societal norms? How dare you have explore your options, right? And choose something that is so contrary to what we have been used to for decades and decades, right? But we can, because women are in the public square singing at the top of their voices that it is not worth it. If you are not 100% that you want it and are willing to put in the work and the sacrifices and the compromises that come with it, don't do it. If anything, your life will be 1,000 times better if you do not do it, if you do not take that direction. Anyway, let's get back into it.
Okay, so almost half of women are apparently going to be childless and single by the year 2030.
Dude, good for us, honestly. That's amazing. I love that he presented that article as if women becoming happier and more content with themselves is a problem we need to solve. And I think it's hilarious that all these grown men are so upset by this information that keeps coming out that women are becoming happier being single and childless now. I want to talk about it today because that man rambled for almost 4 whole minutes and he did absolutely everything but understand the point. That yes, statistically, women are starting to poll as happier being single and childless. And there's a lot of reasons for these statistics coming forward, right? A big one is that we're not out here having to deal with the emotional labor of a relationship that never seems to be equally placed upon a man. But then you see all these men who for some reason can't wrap their mind around the fact that women are happy single, and that's because statistically men poll as happier in a relationship. They're miserable without us. And so they do what this man did in his 4-minute long video and they get upset and they think they need to come in and save these women who aren't asking to be saved. And they blame feminism, they blame women, they dance around the point entirely. They tell themselves whatever they need to rock themselves to sleep as they cry at night, completely missing the point and knowing that women are out here happy. We're just fine. And because you know what? Same. I make myself go on a date every 2 to 5 months, just to get back in there, give it a try. You never know what could happen. Maybe I'll meet the love of my life and everything will go amazing. But it's good to always put yourself back out there every once in a while to see. And it always ends up going one of 2 ways. First is that we're just not compatible. Totally normal. We move on. And the second one is if things work out, we get into a little relationship, right? It usually goes like the last boy I dated. We dated for 3 or 4 months and almost every day after work, I would go over to his house. And no matter how my day went at work, right, I would just be happy to be off and get to see him. But it wasn't the same for him. It seemed like he was never able to just leave work problems at work, which is fine, right? I'm always here to help, support, vent. But it started to feel like he was having a bad day at work almost every day. And then he would come home and kind of take it out on me. Like he would dump it all on me and then I would have to deal with fixing it, or he would be starting arguments, just a whole bad mood vibe. It always became my emotional labor now too. And the thing is, the door never really swung both ways. I was always expected to be there to tend to all of his needs and whatnot, but he was never really offering the same thing to me. And I find this happens a lot in relationship with boys. One day I had an amazing day at work. I came home so excited and he just came and ruined my mood entirely. And that was the day I looked around and went, why am I putting up with this? I am raising a man who would not and does not do the same thing for me. And whilst there are some benefits to having someone around, right? I stayed this long. I was overall on a general baseline just happier being single. So now about a month or 2 into every relationship I have, I sit down and I have to ask myself, were you happier before this relationship started? And so far, mostly every time the answer has been no. It was way better being single. And certainly a lot less stressful than adopting a 27-year-old man-child. And y'all can keep making videos crying and trying to blame feminism and women all you want, but at some point you're gonna have to look inward. I also don't know why he brought money into it. In this economy, most people want a partner who makes more money than them. The last boy I went out with literally said he wants to be a stay-at-home dad and have his wife bring in all the money. And I get it.
I hate the fact that society has women convinced that a lot of them don't have successful relationships with men because of the way they walk or the way they talk, the way they dress, or, you know, the way how much money they make. But really, in reality, it's because we're too smart for the dumb shit. The lies, the manipulation, and just the dusty ass fucking behavior and mannerisms from these men. That's the real reason why a lot of women are choosing to be single, and I'm not mad at them. If you can live your life and be comfortable and happy alone without a man's company, baby, you winning. You winning way more than a motherfucker that's in a relationship right now.
The hot, successful, really driven women are in their single girl era right now.
And the most frustrating part about this is that they don't understand that us being single is a choice because they are not putting in the same amount of work to be high vibrational people. Us beautiful, hot, successful women are hot, successful, and beautiful because we work on ourselves. We don't just go to work to make money. We also work on our mindset. We work on our spirituality. We work on our physical health. We work on our physical fitness. Like, we are going above and beyond to check off all the boxes for ourselves so that we can be the best version of ourselves. Meanwhile, men are only focused on making money. So they automatically think they're in the top percentage of men who are desired when they have money. And they don't understand that having money is just simply not enough anymore, because a high vibrational woman wants to be with a high vibrational man. That means a man who is spiritually in tune with himself, mentally stable, emotionally intelligent, and physically active. They don't check off those 4 boxes. They just make money, they get their finances in order, and they say, all right, I'm a man, I'm ready for my dream woman. And they find this woman that's high vibrational, that's hot, that's successful, and they say, yes, I want you. But they never stop to ask themselves, are they going to be offering her the same type of vibration, the same type of energy that she's going to be giving him? No, they don't ask themselves that. And if they did ask themselves that, they would quickly realize the answer is no, because they're not capable of it. They don't actually understand how to pour into somebody else. They understand how to take what somebody else is pouring into them. They don't understand how to reciprocate that. And that's why a lot of women who are hot and successful and spiritually in tune with themselves are staying single, because why would we want to pour into an empty vessel? They genuinely think that just because they recognize you for your power and your vibration and how great you make them feel, that that's enough for you. They think that by them saying, oh, you're such a beautiful woman, oh, you're so amazing, oh, you make me so happy, that that's enough for you. But it's like, no, I already know all these things. You're just telling me stuff that I already know. What would make me really happy is if you pour into me the same way I pour into you. You see me the same way I see you. You reassure me the way I reassure you. That's what it means to have an actual real spiritual connection. They don't understand that. Their connections are still one-dimensional, which is, I provide the finances, you do everything else. And that's why we're opting out.
Men tend to thrive more in relationships and in marriages, while women tend to thrive more when they're single. Let's talk about that, because there are a lot of facts to this that are actually backed up by numerous studies that have been done on women's single life versus a man's single life. Studies show that single men tend to be more socially isolated and lonelier than married men. Now, of course, this is a generality. I'm not speaking for every single man, but for the majority of men, this is how it is. And this is one of the leading causes and factors for why there is a male loneliness epidemic. One of the biggest differences between men and women when they're both single is women tend to have several outlets where they can pour out their emotional load onto and who they can connect with on an emotional and a mental level. Whereas men, we don't think the same way in those regards, especially on a romantic level. We think that the only person who we're supposed to be emotional to and pour out our emotional load onto is a woman or a partner. Women don't think the same. And this is why there is a male loneliness epidemic, because men think that we're supposed to hold every single one of our emotions in and we can't let it out to anyone. This is undeniably one of the reasons for why women tend to thrive more when they're single, because they have a community, a support system of other women and other friends who they can be emotionally connected to. We, unfortunately, don't do that. Single women are more likely to have deep friendships and platonic friendships with other people, and this makes them less dependent on romantic validation. Another reason for why women tend to thrive more when they're single than men do is because of the pressures that come with being in a relationship. There's added cultural and social expectations for a woman when she's in a relationship, like the domestic labor, for example, being one of the main ones. Cooking, cleaning, doing all that stuff. So when a woman is single and decides to live a life without a man, she can cook whenever she wants. If she doesn't want to cook, she doesn't have to. There's a lot less pressure coming from being single than being in a relationship. Very simply put, a woman could wake up one morning and decide, today I'm not going to cook. I don't feel like making any breakfast, so cereal it is. And this is essentially what I mean by when I say that a lot of women who are single tend to have a lot less pressure than women who are in marriages and in relationships. When you take all these things into consideration, it shouldn't be a surprise that men thrive more in relationships while women thrive more when they're single. And this tells me that in a romantic sense, generally speaking,
there is something I have noticed in our societies. It looks like most successful women are women without husbands. Most successful women out there are women without any committed relationship. Why is it so? If you know the answer, tell me. It looks like most women that are married are not as successful as women without husbands. Most women without committed relationship are really making money. What is happening?
Because marriage takes a toll on women. When you're married and you have children, you become the primary caregiver. You make the sacrifices. You make the career sacrifices. You make the emotional sacrifices. And that is the reason why women who are married, who have kids, do not have the same level of success as unmarried women. A married man with kids can get the opportunity to pursue a master's degree or a PhD program, and he will go ahead and pursue it with little interruption. A married woman who wants to pursue a master's and a PhD will have to consider her family, the age of her children, and the kind of resources and support available for her before she's able to make a decision. This is the reason why most married women dominate part-time work and seasonal work, because it is difficult for them to keep a permanent job that offers benefits, that measures productivity and efficiency. When you're a married woman and you have kids, and something happens to your children in school, guess who they will call? You. Guess who will attend the parent-teacher association meeting? You. If your children are sick, guess who would have to take time off to go to the hospital to make sure the children are okay? It is the woman. And existing literature confirms this, that married women, they have a reduced income over time because they are not able to advance in their careers. And when I say that marriage is an oppressive institution for women, some African women come into the comments and say, oh, marriage is a beautiful thing. I'm not saying marriage is not a beautiful thing, and I'm not saying that do not get married. What I am saying is that understand the impact that marriage and motherhood will have on you as a woman. Marriage will take a toll, and motherhood will take a toll on your life and the opportunities you are able to take and how successful you become as a woman. And that is the fact, because children are tied to the hips of a woman. When you have an opportunity to advance in your career or get a higher education, you have to consider your family, the age of your children, before you decide. But a man who is a husband can have the same opportunity for career growth and higher education, and he will leave his family to pursue that. In sociology, we call it the motherhood penalty. Women who choose to be married and become mothers are punished for it. Unfortunately, society does not even have systems to support mothers. There are certain jobs that as a woman, when you are given the opportunity, there is an additional clause that you cannot get pregnant. And on some jobs, when you get pregnant, in the first few years, you will be let go. Society does not even have systems to compensate women for reproduction and contributing to the future labor market. If you're a woman, before you get married and you have children, make sure you are planning. Make sure you choose a man that will be able to compensate you for all the opportunities you will miss. My name is Dr. Zira. I am a sociologist, and I stand by what I always say. Marriage and motherhood is an oppressive institution for women. So if you choose to become a wife and a mother, be smart and choose your husband wisely. If you're not following, guess what? Hit the follow button.
And I just feel like I thrive like when I'm single, like better when I'm single. Why is it women look better when they're single? I'm sorry, like the second a man touches me, I feel like my beauty like disappears. Like I genuinely feel like I look the best when I'm single for a reason. And I know other women do too, because it's not just me. And I just genuinely feel like men just are so draining, but at the same time, like obviously eventually like I do want to be married and like I do want to have a family of my own, but at the same time, like at the stage I'm in life, I just feel like I thrive better when I'm single. Like look better, I'm emotionally happier, I'm making a lot more money, and I just genuinely feel like for me to be with a man, like he would have to elevate me with him, if that makes sense. Like we would have to elevate each other, okay? And I just feel like I haven't found that yet. But yeah, like let me know if you feel the same way. Love you, bye.
I was having a conversation today with my coach, and one thing that hit me is that the most successful women on our team are single women. I'm gonna tell you why. I believe, hey, argue with me, argue with your mama, argue with your driveway, but I believe that the more male-centered a woman is, the less access she has to her own wealth. I remember when I was married, if I wanted to go somewhere and do anything, it didn't matter what it was, I always had to ask. And you're like, how are you asking a grown man? How are you asking your husband? Because I had to ask, because I needed support with the kids. He just wouldn't come home. Or I might need to use the car. He would take the car, make sure I couldn't get the car. Or he would argue and say it was a safety problem and he didn't feel safe with me traveling. What? Well, I went from being a successful business owner, making a lot of money, to barely being able to make ends meet. Because anytime I had to do anything or go anywhere, I had to always have the kids with me, and he wouldn't support it. So, decentering men is not just a movement, okay? It's a lifestyle.
And there you have it. Listen, there's something that stood up for me. There's a woman who spoke about the differences between, I don't know if it's in this video or I saw it somewhere else, the difference between the level of hate that single child-free women get compared to single mothers get, right? And she speaks about as single mothers, another type level of hate that you get is you are somehow getting penalized in terms of career, in terms of societal shunning and all of that for contributing to the future labor force. Because when you're having children, that's exactly what you're doing. You're contributing to the future labor force, but for some reason, you are being called all sorts of names still, especially if after that you decide that you don't want a man to help. You are good with it. If the one who I had this child with, it didn't work out, I'm going to steer clear of men altogether. Crazy. So anyway, I think for me, the takeaway on this is that all women, especially younger women in your 20s, in your teens, and whatever, if you're starting out life or restarting life, those of us in our 30s, there are options. Hear ye. Please do keep your ears open, guys. Listen to those that have traveled this road. There's nothing new on this planet. Women that have walked this road know better. We need to listen. We really need to listen. And I will say, it's interesting how we are trying to solve women's the problem. We have problematized women's happiness. Women being single and thriving and flourishing and just doing the best in their life. For some reason, it is triggering society. People are crashing out. My goodness. Why is that? That's sad. That shows that it's a deeper problem, that we have always been the pillars of society, right? But we have been made to believe otherwise. It breaks my heart when I hear, I tend to work with younger people, and it just breaks my heart sometimes when we're chatting at work, as ladies would. You listen to these women in their early 20s, some of them still studying, or at their end of their varsity years, and they talk about these boyfriends that are weighing them down. And I'm like, child. And you know what? I can advise as much as I can, but I remember being that age, being in a happy relationship and having my mom say, listen, do not let this man relax. Do this. You couldn't tell me nothing. So there's a part of me that's like, I don't know, is it that we have to go through this pain in order to learn? But I also know that there are a lot of young women out there that are listening. If you are one of those that feel like your guy is different, ma'am, no, he's not. Focus on yourself. Actually, prioritize yourself, be selfish and be self-centered, and see how he reacts. That'll tell you if he's different. I think that's the one experiment that will show you if he really is as different as you seem to think that he is. Anyway, I've rambled enough about this one. We would never stop talking. I just love the fact that there's content being made about this, and the algorithm seems to be loving it. That means that we are pushing the information out there. Women are learning, women's eyes are being opened, and we are learning to do better by ourselves. I'm banging on my ticket today. Well, we are learning to do better for ourselves, which can only be good for society, right? Anyway, thank you for being here. Please do comment, like, and subscribe. I'm building a community. Would absolutely love it if you would be a part of it. See you on the next one.